Hello, dear viewers of Hoài Ca. Today we will follow an emotional and dramatic story about the special encounter between single mother Hoài Ca and Joe. This is not just a simple story, but an important revelation that Hoài Ca has kept hidden for so long. In this conversation, she will share the truth about Tony, the child she has raised alone for many years, and now Hoài Ca can no longer keep it a secret. She will reveal to Joe and everyone the truth about the real father of the child. So, who is Tony's real father? Unspoken stories will gradually be revealed, and each viewer will feel the intertwined emotions in this tale. At this moment, Joe was deeply worried about Hoài Ca's health, as she had just gone through a major ordeal. Unable to sit still, he immediately drove straight to Mrs. Bay's house where Hoài Ca had been staying to recover. Upon arrival, Joe entered and greeted Mrs. Bay politely. Then he didn't forget to ask about Hoài Ca's health. He gently said, "Mrs. Bay, I heard that Hoài Ca just returned after getting lost in the forest. How is she doing?" Joe further explained that the reason he couldn't visit Hoài Ca sooner was due to his work. However, his concern and care for her were clear. He wanted to make sure she was all right and hadn't encountered any serious issues. Mrs. Bay looked at Joe, sensing the genuine worry in his eyes. Touched by his concern, she nodded and invited him inside to make the conversation more comfortable. "Come on in. You two can talk inside," Mrs. Bay said with a warm smile. So Joe walked into the house where Hoài Ca was resting after the unfortunate incident. Joe sat down. His expression turned serious, no longer showing the casual worry he had before. He knew that this was the most important moment. He needed to learn the truth that he had been too afraid to ask all this time. After a moment of silence, he spoke up. "You have to tell me the truth. There's something I really want to ask." Hoài Ca looked at him, her eyes somewhat tired but still bright, as if sensing the tension in the air. "What's so serious and—" She asked, her voice a little worried, but also full of readiness to face whatever came next. "You have to tell me the truth," Joe said firmly, his hands clenched tightly. Hoài Ca didn't take her eyes off him, a sense of unease rising within her. She couldn't predict what he was about to ask. "Well, just go ahead and say it," Hoài Ca replied, her voice trembling slightly. Joe took a deep breath, then not taking his eyes off Hoài Ca, he asked the question he had avoided for so long. "Is Tony really my biological child?" This question was a shock to Hoài Ca. She fell silent for a moment, her eyes shifting from surprise to sadness. She responded decisively, though with pain. "Tony is your son." Joe stared at her, unable to believe his ears. But he couldn't hide the frustration in his eyes. "Then why did you doubt and investigate?" He asked, not to make things difficult for her, but because a sense of fear and unease had stirred within him. Hoài Ca lowered her head, partially understanding why Joe had acted the way he did. She sighed and continued to explain. "At that age, when you were harming me, you had your doubts. You and your sister also went to investigate and confirm, and all this time you have been certain that Tony is your son." Joe fell silent, feeling the pain in every word Hoài Ca spoke. But after thinking for a while, he gently said, "Now I know the truth. Don't worry, but don't hurt yourself or Tony anymore. Don't say that. I care about both you and Tony. How could I hate the two of you? Joe's words made Hoài Ca feel a bit relieved, but there was also an indescribable sadness rising within her. She had kept this truth hidden for so long, not because she didn't want to share it, but because she feared it would hurt those around her. Joe truly couldn't hide his emotions upon hearing Hoài Ca speak the truth. He sat in silence for a moment, trying to control the frustration rising within him, then suddenly asked, "Why didn't you tell me from the beginning?" Hoài Ca sat quietly, her eyes filled with sadness, her thoughts seeming to torment every part of her mind. After a long pause, she gently replied, "Because I didn't want to see you anymore." Her answer caused Joe to choke up, but he couldn't blame her. He understood that what she had gone through wasn't easy, and it seemed like she wanted to protect everything on her own. Suddenly, tears fell from Hoài Ca's eyes, silently, but full of unspoken pain. "All this time, I've been raising Tony alone. I didn't want to tell you because I was afraid." Her voice cracked, unable to continue. She feared that if Joe knew the truth, everything she had built for her son would be shattered. It would no longer be intact. Joe looked at her, his heart tightening when he saw her so vulnerable and suffering. He tried to reassure her gently, saying, "Don't worry, I won't take Tony away from you. After all, Tony is my son. I can't let him grow up without the love he deserves." Hoài Ca listened, but her heart remained heavy. She looked at Joe, her eyes filled with vague concern. "Promise me, please don't take Tony away from me," she said, her voice weak, as if pleading for the most important thing in her life. Joe lowered his voice, speaking gently but firmly. "Don't worry, I will never separate you two. I'm afraid that the two of you aren't living comfortably here, so I want to bring both of you to stay with me where it'll be better. I'm working now and making money. I'm not the same as I was before. I just hope you'll give me a chance." Hoài Ca didn't respond immediately. She felt burdened, but couldn't deny that Joe had changed a lot. However, she still kept a part of herself hidden, not wanting to reveal everything. She gently replied, "Promise me don't do anything that could harm Tony." She didn't want to mention that Hung was there taking care of the two of them, because that might make Joe even more worried. Instead, she simply said, "I still have a stable life. I don't need your help." Her words marked the end of the tense conversation, but also served as protection for everything she had built. Joe listened, then once again respected her wishes. He didn't want to force her, and though he still wanted to take care of both mother and son, he understood that Hoài Ca had grown strong enough to take care of herself. He looked at her with a gentle gaze and finally decided, "Then you stay at Mrs. Bay's house for safety. I won't disturb you anymore, but if you need anything, I'll always be here." Hoài Ca looked at Joe, feeling a certain gratitude in her heart. She knew Joe was doing everything for her and Tony, but she also understood that sometimes the decisions she made were to protect those she loved. She no longer wanted to be passive in her life. She had already overcome so many difficulties on her own, and no matter what happened, she would always find a way to protect her future and her son. And so Joe quietly left, leaving Hoài Ca with a peaceful space to think about what she would do next. At this moment, only Mrs. Bay and Hoài Ca remained in the quiet room. Mrs. Bay could see the expression on Hoài Ca's face, knowing that she was troubled, but she also understood that sometimes Hoài Ca didn't want to share her feelings. Gently, she asked, What did you talk about with Joe? Why do you look so sad? Hoài Ca tried to hide the emotions welling up inside her. She didn't want to worry Mrs. Bay further, so she replied softly, "I'm fine. There's nothing wrong." She said this to ease the atmosphere, even though her mind was filled with thoughts and worries. Mrs. Bay looked at her for a moment, sensing the heavy silence, but didn't pressure Hoài Ca to share. They both sat there in silence, each lost in their own thoughts, but neither spoke. As for Hoài Ca couldn't help but wonder whether he knew the truth about Tony. If Hung knew, would he still feel the same way about her? These questions circled in her mind, causing her unease. She feared that the truth would change everything, and she wasn't sure if Hung would accept it. But at this moment, all that remained were unanswered questions.
Lúc này chỉ còn lại bà Bảy và Hoài Ca trong căn phòng yên tĩnh. Bà Bảy nhìn thấy vẻ mặt của Hoài Ca, biết rằng cô đang có chuyện buồn. Nhưng bà cũng hiểu rằng đôi khi Hoài Ca không muốn chia sẻ. Bà nhẹ nhàng hỏi, cô đã nói chuyện gì với Đô mà sao mặt buồn vậy? Hoài Ca cố gắng giấu đi những cảm xúc đang dâng trào trong lòng. Cô không muốn bà Bảy lo lắng thêm, nên chỉ đáp một cách nhẹ nhàng, cháu không có chuyện gì. Cô nói vậy để xong bầu không khí, mặc dù trong lòng đang đầy rẫy những suy tư và lo lắng. Bà Bảy nhìn cô một lúc, cảm nhận sự im lặng nặng nề nhưng không ép buộc. Hoài Ca phải chia sẻ. Hai người cứ ngồi đó trong một khoảng lặng, mỗi người đều có những suy nghĩ riêng nhưng không ai lên tiếng. Còn về Hùng, Hoài Ca không thể không tự hỏi liệu anh có biết sự thật về Tony hay không. Nếu Hùng biết, liệu anh có còn tình cảm với cô như trước nữa không? Những câu hỏi này cứ quay quẩn trong tâm trí cô, khiến cô không khỏi lo lắng. Cô lo sợ rằng sự thật sẽ thay đổi tất cả, và cô không biết liệu Hùng có chấp nhận được hay không. Nhưng trong lúc này, tất cả chỉ còn là những câu hỏi chưa lời giải.